The first sound the dragons heard from him was crying. It echoed across black stone and steaming vents. A human baby lay in a cracked shell nest. No fire touched him. No claw harmed him. The great red matron lowered her head and listened. She had burned armies before without pause, yet this sound stayed her flame. Dragons understood strength and hunger and age. They did not understand mercy as other races did. Still they understood debt. The matron remembered the night of ash and storm. A human caravan had burned while shielding her wounded wing. The baby must have been from that caravan. Debt was older than gold. She gathered the child with careful talons. They named him no name at first. Dragons named things only after purpose appeared. He grew in heat and smoke. His crib was stone warmed by fire veins. His lullabies were distant roars and shifting wings. Milk came from traded goats, and later from dragon-forged vessels. Fire never touched him. Heat hardened him instead. He learned to crawl while dragons slept. He learned to walk among claws longer than his body. When he fell, a tail would stop him. When he cried, steam vents would hiss softer. The matron watched and waited. Dragons aged slowly. Patience was easy for them. Purpose would reveal itself. The boy learned words from echoes. Dragons spoke rarely but clearly. Each word carried weight. He listened more than he spoke. He learned to count by talons and horns. He learned stories carved into stone walls. He learned that dragons ruled by strength, tempered with wisdom. Fire without control burned its own horde. When he was older, they named him Kale. It meant small flame that does not burn. Names mattered. With a name came duty. He was expected to survive. He was expected to learn. No dragon expected him to rule. That thought came later. Kale trained because dragons trained. They taught him balance on narrow ledges. They taught him patience during long, still hours. They taught him to watch before acting. Fire taught him respect for limits. Stone taught him endurance. Sky taught him distance and scale. He learned to think beyond himself. Other races feared Dragonland. They sent spies and hunters and sometimes armies. They all failed. Fire solved many problems, yet some problems returned. Raids grew smarter. Weapons grew sharper. Dragons noticed patterns humans often missed. Kale noticed them too. He saw supply lines. He saw morale break before bodies did. He saw fear move faster than fire. He spoke his thoughts carefully. Dragons listened because he had survived this long. The matron asked him questions. She never ordered him. Respect went both ways. When the first coordinated assault came, it surprised even the elders. Ballista bolts pierced wings. Poison smoke rolled through lower caverns. Dragons burned and roared. Victory came, but cost followed. The matron lost her sight in one eye. Others carried scars that would never fade. Debt had returned with interest. Kale studied the battlefield afterward. He walked among shattered stone and cooling metal. He asked why attackers chose that hour. He asked how they knew the vent cycle. No dragon had answers. Humans planned. That was their strength. Kale was human. He proposed changes, rotating patrols, false vents, decoy hordes. Dragons disliked tricks, yet losses had taught them humility. They allowed Kale to test his ideas. The next raid failed before reaching the cliffs. Not a single dragon burned. Word spread through the human thought like prey but guarded like a dragon. Elders began to ask his counsel. Young dragons followed him during drills. He never raised his voice. He never acted above his station. He spoke only when needed. Authority settled on him quietly. Years passed in heat and stone. Kale grew into his strength. His skin bore old scars from claws and rock. His eyes reflected fire without fear. He learned to ride the wind in harnesses. He learned dragon signals meant for battle. He learned when to retreat. That lesson mattered most. The great council convened after the Second War. This one came with siege engines and mages. Dragons won again, yet numbers dwindled. Fire alone could not solve this age. The matron stood before the circle. She spoke Kale's name with weight. She named him commander. Silence followed. No human had ever held such title. No dragon had ever yielded command. The matron lowered her head. That act shook the caverns. She repaid her debt in full. Leadership was now his burden. Kale accepted without pride. As commander, he did not seek conquest. He sought balance. He opened guarded passes for trade. He established clear borders. He punished raids swiftly and spared those who honored treaties. Fear shifted into caution. Caution became respect. Respect became uneasy peace. Some dragons resisted. They wanted the old days of pure fire. Kale listened to them too. He arranged trials, not arguments. When strategies saved lives, opinions changed. When hatchlings grew safer, gratitude followed. Results mattered more than pride. Dragons understood that truth. Humans heard legends of a dragon commander. Some called him traitor. Others called him savior. Envoys came with shaking hands. Kale met them without armor. Dragons watched from shadows. Fire waited but did not fall. Peace required trust first. Years later, another baby arrived, found near the border wrapped in torn cloth. Crying echoed across stone once more. Kale remembered his beginning. He carried the child himself. The matron watched with her one good eye. Debt moved in circles. So did purpose. Dragonland endured, not as a land of fear alone, but as a land of measured strength. Kale stood on a high ledge at dusk. Wings crossed the sky behind him. Fire lit the clouds in red gold. He had been raised among dragons. Now he commanded them, asterisk.